In this video, we're going to look at adding and subtracting fractions that don't have a common denominator. So, to explain that concept, let's look at a problem like this. We have 1/2 plus 1/4. Now, we cannot add these because they do not have a common denominator. So, our method for finding a common denominator is going to be this. We're going to look to our largest number that's in the denominator and say that is going to be our common denominator. So, between 2 and 4, the largest number is 4. So our common denominator will be 4. Now here's the trick. Our other denominator is 2. So we have to answer the question, 2 times what number will give us 4? Remember, we decided 4 was going to be our common denominator because it's the largest number. And so if 2 times what number equals 4, if we determine that that number is 2, then I'm going to say that 2 is my magic number. And if 2 is my magic number, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this first fraction that has a denominator of 2, and I am going to multiply 2 over 2. 2 is my magic number, so I multiplied here then by 2 over 2. Now it's important here to realize that this number might be 2 over 2, it could be 3 over 3, or 4 over 4, or 8 over 8, or anything. But the point is that it has to be equal to 1. And remember, whenever you have the same thing in the numerator and the denominator, then that's equal to 1. So whatever your magic number is, that's what goes in the numerator and the denominator. And now we multiply across the numerator and multiply across the denominator. So 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. And lo and behold, we have now accomplished the task of getting these two fractions to a common denominator. And once we have a common denominator, then we simply have to add or subtract the numerators and rewrite the denominator, and so we get 2 plus 1 over 4, or 3/4. And we can see if we take a look at the ruler, we had 1/2 plus 1/4, right? So if we're dealing with inches, again, this could be any measurement, but if we're dealing with inches, let's say a half an inch is here. And remember, these are the quarter divisions. And so 1/2, and then if I add 1/4, then here I get my 3/4. So that's sort of what it looks like, on a ruler. But when you add fractions, you need to make sure that you have a common denominator. Choose your largest denominator as your common denominator. Find your magic number, and then it's magic number over magic number. Multiply across the top and across the bottom, and that will give you a fraction that has the same denominator. Let's take a look at another problem and use the same process. 3/4 minus 7/16. Well, using the same method, we know that we're going to make 16 our common denominator, and then we take our denominator of 4, and we say 4 times what number will give us 16. Once we determine that that number is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, so 4 is our magic number, and therefore we have 4 over 4. And now we are going to multiply across the numerator and across the denominator. 3 times 4 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, and minus 7/16. And now we have 12 minus 7 which is 5. I should write that line. We have 12 minus 7 all over 16, which is 5/16. And we could verify that on a ruler as well, because we had 3/4 minus 7/16. So in red here, I will mark on, there's 3/4. And now I'm going to go to the, over here just to explain, here are the quarter divisions. Here are the 1/8 divisions. And so these small tiny ones here are the 16ths. And so I've got 3/4, which I've marked. And now I want to subtract 7/16. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's where I land up. And you can see here that I am at, in blue here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. Let's take a look at one more problem before we do some practicing. And we'll make this one a little bit harder. We'll have 1/8 plus 1/2 minus 7/16. So, again, what is the largest number of any of the denominators we see? The largest number is 16. So we're going to need a magic number for the 1/8 and a magic number for the 1/2. And so if we start from left to right, we'll deal with the 8 first. So we have 8 times some number, and that will give us 16. And 8 times 2 is equal to 16. So 2 over 2 goes in front of this fraction. And when we look at a fraction of 1/2, we again, the denominator is 2. And 2 times what number will equal 16? And that is 8. So my magic number for that fraction is 8. So in front of that fraction goes 8 over 8. And now we multiply the numerators together and the denominators together, and 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. 8 times 1 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. And now we have minus 7/16. So now we have 2 plus 8 minus 7 all over 16, and that gives us 2 plus 8, just doing this numerator here, 2 plus 8 is 10, 10 minus 7 is 3. So we land up with 3/16 as a solution to the third problem. So when you need to find a common denominator, choose the largest denominator and make that your common denominator. See what magic number you have to multiply each denominator by to get the common denominator. We had a 2 in this fraction, so we had to multiply by 8 over 8. And in this fraction, in the first fraction here, we had an 8 in the denominator, so we needed to put a 2 over 2 in front of that fraction, and then all of the denominators will be common. Combine the numerators, and it doesn't matter how many there are, including the signs, and that becomes your numerator. You rewrite your denominator, and then perform the operations that are in your numerator. So that is the basic concept of adding and subtracting fractions that don't have common denominators.